Thank you for joining us for another episode of Thank You for You,
where every story matters. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Thank You for You. I'm really excited about this episode. Today we have Whitney sharing her pregnancy and birth story. It is a frightening and loving story about the trials that she experienced while being pregnant and giving birth to her son. So I hope you guys enjoy and find it as informative and enlightening as I did.
My pregnancy of my son, Eli Jr., who is now 3. So this was just about 3 years ago, April 2015. So I got pregnant that October 2014. And right around that time, I had surgery on my nose. So that nasal polyps. It was like they put me under and did all this stuff, and I was under probably like 3 hours and came out of surgery and went home. So I was home in the bed, and I was like completely out of it. Like you see videos of people coming off anesthesia and they just like be talking crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was doing with Enoch, my husband, Senior. And we wasn't trying to have a baby. Like I had just gotten off birth control in the beginning of August, but we weren't trying. It's just like birth control is making me feel horrible all the time, and I was just like, I don't like the way it makes me feel. And like we both said, I got pregnant, but I wasn't like monitoring calendars or anything like that. But I still had like my periods and stuff. But the night that I came home from surgery and I was still out of it, and I was doing all types of crazy stuff to him. I was like, I'm pregnant. And he was like, yeah, right. I was like, no, God just told me right now I'm pregnant. And then he just started laughing. And I was like, I'm not joking. God just told me I'm pregnant. He was like, you just had your period not too long ago. And I was like, I know. So then he called, my aunt called just to check on me. I told her the same thing. Everybody was just laughing. I was just so out of it. And so then after that surgery, the next week I went home to Louisiana to stay with my grandma and my aunt on vacation. The whole time I was throwing up. I was so sick. But I thought it was me coming off of the surgery because the surgery I had to be out of work for 2 weeks anyway before I could go back. So I was just sick, and my grandma was like, are you sure that's from the surgery? I'm like, it gotta be. I don't know what else it could be. And so then when I got home, back to Atlanta, I was still feeling bad. So I took a test, and I was pregnant. And I was like, see, I told y'all that I wasn't what I said when I came off of what I said when I came out of surgery was true, and it was me, was just super shocked. And when I went back to the doctor for my follow-up, I told him that I was pregnant, and he freaked out. He said, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. And so I took the test, and the day before I went to see him, I went to my regular doctor to do a blood test, and she confirmed it, and he just walked out of the room. And then he came back around 3 minutes later, and he said, I'm really concerned about this because that means whatever information, my doctor told me how far along that was. And he said, all this information means that you were pregnant when we did the surgery. You're not supposed to do the surgery while you're pregnant. So then I had the surgery at Piedmont Hospital. So he had the nurse call Piedmont Hospital to pull the blood test that they did because I had to go to the doctor the hospital the day before to do labs. to show that they do to prove that you're not pregnant. And so then the hospital called back, like, he made me stay for all that, because I guess he was so worried that I was going to see him. But I wasn't even concerned. That was like the last thing on my mind. I didn't even realize I put the two and two together. But he came in, showed me the test of proof that it came back pregnant. He was like, you must have just gotten pregnant, and it wasn't showing up on the test results yet. And I was like, that's so crazy. And I was like, I totally told my husband I was pregnant that night, and he just, like, brushed it off. But that was, like, my first, like, scary thing that kind of happened, was having surgery, and the doctor being so freaked out when I told him, like, oh, I'm pregnant. So after that, my pregnancy was pretty normal until about, like, the second trimester. Like, the first trimester, I was throwing up. But by the second trimester, I was throwing up a lot. Like, I couldn't keep anything down at all. And I remember my mom just was like, it's 2015. They should have come up with some medicine by now to, like, keep that down. And so when she said that, I was like, yeah, you're right. It's 2015. Like, okay, I was so mad. So I went back to my OBG, my baby doctor, and asked her, and she was like, there is some medicine, but there's only one medicine in the market that they kind of give you when you have severe vomiting. So she gave it to me. She gave me the prescription, but when you Google it, there's so many negative things. This is like a drug that they use for cancer patients, but it's the only thing that's been proven to work with women who had that issue that I had, which is like just not being like constantly throwing up. Like there's no relief ever. And so I was really kind of scared of taking it because you heard there were like lawsuits against it, and you just read all these kind of side effects that kind of happen for it. But luckily, a friend at my job was pregnant at the same time, and she was going through the same thing. Like hers was even got so bad, so she actually had to have like a pump put in her stomach to like administer the medicine because it's that severe. So we were both going. It was just like good to have somebody who was kind of going on that same journey, not like the person who's just like, oh, pregnancy is so easy. It's like this kind of thing. So that was another thing that was happening. And before I got pregnant, I would run every day, usually about 5 miles a day. And I would like run in the woods where we worked. Coyote, there was like a wooded park by there. So after work, I would go in there. But I just was so tired, like being pregnant. You are exhausted, especially that first trimester. I would just come home and just sleep like for hours, like just so tired. And so then my mom was, who's a personal trainer and a bodybuilder, just say, Whitney, you can keep running. Like, Whitney, you can keep running. My friend so-and-so, she's still at the gym, she was at the gym the day she gave birth. And I was just like, I don't feel like running. I feel hard, but, like, I don't want to run. I don't have to run. But I think she was just, like, so worried about me doing something that I really liked, but I really just didn't have the energy for it at all. Like, I was just so exhausted.
Is that normal?
And then,
yeah,
it is normal for people to be tired. But there are a lot of people who like still work out throughout their pregnancy. But I didn't have it. And then another thing that kind of happened to me before I got pregnant, the 3 years before, I was vegetarian. And as soon as I got pregnant, I was just like craving meat so bad. It was so weird. Specifically chicken wings. And it was just like, I was so angry at work.
You were mad about eating chicken. All right, going back, your
Yeah,
body.
yeah, my body. I was just like, so I think, and I didn't tell anybody I was pregnant at work until about 6 months. And I remember people, like one guy on my team, who I like turned off, and I'm usually very nice. Later on, came back over to me. He's like, "Is everything okay?" He's like, "You just seem so frustrated lately." He's like, "It's just not like you. Is everything going on?" And I just remember, I'm like, "Yes, I'm fine." And then that night, I was just like so angry, and I was just like so hungry, and I was just like, "Give me some chicken wings." You know, and he got me some chicken wings, and I was so happy. So, like, starting about 6 months, I started eating meat again. But that was, like, my biggest craving was just, like, meat. And, like, I have no, like, it wasn't, like, a protein because I ate, like, all my, like, beans and lentils. Like, I was eating things that you actually get, like, more protein out of, you know, than meat.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just, like, a huge craving that I had. And another craving I had was barbecue. And I hate barbecue. So when I was pregnant, I kept eating out down a fat mat. It's like 9, 10 o'clock at night. It was so, I mean, just meat, chicken. It was just ridiculous. I mean, my baby loves chicken now, so that could possibly be it.
Did you have any swings, or just like until you started eating meat? Did you have any other mood swings, or was it like after you let yourself eat meat, then like your mood?
I was like, yeah, do you remember before I ate? Remember you would say either you was like, you are super pregnant now with these pregnant responses. Like, I was
oh, yeah, because you would. Okay, yeah, I do remember that. I was like, who are you? I do remember that. I was like,
but
dang.
no, like, the only other thing that I had was, like, I used to love tomatoes, and once I got pregnant, I couldn't eat tomatoes. And even now, I don't like them all the time, but it wasn't until I got pregnant, I was like, oh, hate tomatoes. But other than that, I was, like, completely fine with food and eating, and I didn't have any weird cravings without specifically being vegetarian for 3 years and switching back to meat, which is a huge, like, craving to have, to switch back for. But other than that, my pregnancy was normal up until like around the 28th week. So I was diagnosed with high blood pressure probably around 23, 24, which was like in the height of like me being like super fit and like eating super healthy. And when I got it, actually my doctor, who was teaching at every medical school, like did my test on me just to show a resident doctor and me that mine was just like genetic. Like it wasn't like, you know, like any, like I couldn't, it was like, oh, you don't need to lose weight. You know, it's like nothing that she could say, oh, do this. Like eat healthier. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm already doing that or work out. I'm like, I do that every day. So she was like, did test.
They were checking to make sure that it wasn't related.
Yeah, they did all that. And it's just like genetic. It's just my genetics that I'm predisposed to it.
Oh.
But when I got pregnant, it was no big deal because I had stayed on my medicine. You know, I was still working out, like doing everything that I could be to keep it. I never had any flare-ups. You know, I just took one pill a day, and that was it. So, but because of that, because I always was considered like potential to be high risk, but they didn't think I was ever going to be high risk. But my doctor, my baby doctor facility, which was such a blessing that I went to this place, had high risk of facility right next door to it that was connected. So once I got into like just the 22nd week, I would have to like go to my regular doctor, which was a midwife, because I had a midwife, and then I'll have to just go to the high risk doctor just to make sure everything is okay because I do have high blood pressure. But everything was totally normal. Nobody ever told me, which is something I wish it was, like, hey, you have high blood pressure. There is a chance that you can get preeclampsia. there's a chance that your high blood pressure can go up, and you have to deliver your baby early. Nobody ever said that beforehand. So about like week 29, went to the doctor, and they were really concerned. Not my pressure was fine, but when I would do my P test, like every week you have to do a P test, and they're checking to see if you have protein in your pee. And if you do, that has to do with your kidneys and how that affects the baby. So they were a little bit concerned.
Is that related to pregnancy in general, or just your high blood pressure? Like, is that something that you have to do as a pregnant person, go every week?
Yeah, no, every pregnant person.
Oh.
Because any pregnant person, which can end up with preeclampsia, which is something that I end up with, is just not high blood pressure. Some people don't. Most people don't even have high blood pressure. They only have it for the birth, and then it goes away. So they check every week. So that 28 week, they were worried about mine. They say it probably wasn't too sure, but just to be sure, you have to do like this. They did like just had me come back for another test, and it was fine. And then that 29th week, when I went in there, they were worried about it. They said I had a little bit more protein in my pee. So you have to do this 24-hour pee test, and I literally had to take it to work. It was disgusting and leave it in the fridge. But every time you have to pee, you have to collect your whole pee for 24 hours, and then you take it to them. And so I did that 29th week, and then when I went back for the 30th week, they made me do it again. So I was like, oh my gosh, and like, we just want to like double check, make sure everything's okay. It's kind of high. So I did that, and I dropped it off that day at the doctor, and I went to the doctor's office, and they were like, your high blood pressure and stuff, we're worried about it. We want to take you off from work. So you either ask your job if you can work from home, which is something that I could, or if they can't, you just have to stay home. Because we were, and my job at Coyote at that point was very stressful. And they were just worried about, like, let's say certain instances, at certain times in my day, it would seem like, oh, my pressure would strike and go high, which was how busy we were over in my department, like in that accounting department, so you have to pay it and stuff. Could be like that. So I remember being at work, going in to tell my boss, hey, I need to work from home, and she was arranging everything, and I get a phone call from the doctor saying, hey, you need to get to the hospital ASAP. And I was like, okay, like, do I get to go home first? And she was like, yeah, go home first, like, get whatever you want to get, but you need to be at the hospital by 8 p.m. And so I was like, okay. And I was like, well, what's going on? And she was like, well, your pressure is, like, going up, and we're really worried about the baby. So I remember, like, calling my husband, got home. We hadn't even did, like, maternity pictures yet. I was just, like, 30 weeks. So he, like, took these bootleg pictures. They were horrible. And then we were just like, okay, let's go to the hospital. So I checked in, and I don't even remember being nervous, but they immediately took me into the ICU ward for being pregnant. They hooked me up to all these machines and literally hooked the baby, my stomach up, like I couldn't even move. And they were just constantly, like, so many people coming in and out, took my pressure, whatever. My pressure was, like, out of the roof. Like, it started, like, just overboard, like 200 over something. And they were just like, any minute now, you're going to have a stroke. They were like, do you have headaches? Do you have this, and this? I was like, no, I feel, like, completely fine. So they were able to, like, give me some medicine. They, like, put me on all this medicine to get my pressure lowered, and it worked. And so they said I had to sit here in the bed, in ICU, in the hospital until, like, term, which is 40 weeks. It took about 30 weeks. I'm like, that's 8 weeks sitting here on bed rest. But, the goal is to keep the baby as, long in here as long as possible. So I was just, totally depressed over it. But, just mainly just keeping up my spirits and, just want my baby to cook as long as possible. But the medicine was working. So about 4 days into that, constantly my pressure kept going higher and higher. And they kept inducing my medicine up to 800 milligrams. And they could not get my pressure to go down. At one point it was 270, they were calling everybody. And they could not, no medicine could get it to go down. It was just straight up ridiculous.
Your pressure?
I wasn't,
70?
My high blood pressure, yeah.
And
they were huh?
I'm not, all these things are so foreign because I don't know anything about medical things. What is the normal blood pressure?
I don't even know. I think
Or a range?
I just went to the doctor. Yeah, I think it's 170 over something or 117.
You were at
I don't
270?
know the top of my head. No, yeah, I was when I tell you one point I had 3 doctors. And the baby doctor, my doctor, everybody in there. And so they were really ready. After the first week, they were like, okay, Whitney, we want to take the baby, but at this point, it's my choice, so I can say no. I don't want to take the baby. So that's what I was saying. I was like, no, I don't know. Let's wait. And at this point, I no longer had my midwife anymore because it was an emergency. But luckily, the place that I went to was great. They allow you to have a midwife, but once a month you had to see a doctor, and then I had my high risk doctor too. And so all that was in the same doctor's office. So I knew all these people, and they were just amazing. So my baby doctor was just I'm gonna let you hold off until I think it's okay, and then I will push you a little harder. I'm like, yeah, okay. I wanna just wait. I just wanna try to wait as long as possible. Because they were feeding me to the point they were feeding me medicine, high blood pressure medicine every 2 hours, high dosage, and it still wasn't keeping it down. So I never forget, it was a Friday, and so they come in. So they're constantly monitoring the baby, but every morning they come in and run all these tests on him. And so every day, as long as it was good, he would seem like nothing changed on his levels. As long as it was affecting me, then they would be okay if I said no. I just need to know, they would just tell me the risk, at any moment now, I can have a stroke. And, they'll have to take the baby, and there's a chance that I won't live. But that's my choice. And I was like, yes, it's my choice. I would rather, risk, my life and giving my baby a better chance. Each week he was able to stay in a higher percentage. It is that they are able to survive preterm delivery. So one Friday, I think it's after 1.5 weeks in there, I had been in 12 days, I think. His levels dropped a little bit lower, but it really wasn't. They were he's probably going to have to come out soon, but if you want to wait, he's still good. But my pressure was super high. It was, all the nurses were worried, and this older nurse came in, and she just came and talked to me. And she was just she had been so sweet to me the whole time. And she was just baby, go ahead and have that baby. She's what's the point of having a baby with a dead mom? And that's literally how she said it. And she was go ahead and allow them to take the baby. He'll be fine. It's not, don't risk your life. And I was like, yes, ma'am. And I thought she was right. So then she sent in before you decide to have your baby premature, they send out all these people. And I remember my best friend Nicole was there. The nurse was like, him being born at 30 weeks is like a 96% chance of survival. So I remember Nicole saying, like, it's still 4% chance that he won't make it. And that really, like, shook me. I'm like, yeah, that's so true. And then she was just telling me, like, if he comes, he has to stay in NICU for 8 weeks, and, like, how little he is now, and just, like, all this. And I was just like, oh, my God, I didn't know what to do. And then my baby doctor came in, and he was like, Whitney, you really need to take a baby, not for the baby's sake, but for you, because you're, like, into danger zone. And so I agreed. And so then that night they scheduled it, I think around 8, because Enoch was like, okay, I can leave it. He was at work. So they were like, oh, give me an hour. So he came, and my mom came, and all my friends are there, and they, gave me, epidurals and everything they need to do. And they could have induced me to do labor, but they were so worried that, like, if something happens, I would have to do a cesarean anywhere with my pressure up. They're like, let's just do a C-section. And so that's what we did. So I remember the C-section happened, and they pulled the baby out, and they let me see him. And I was, like, so happy. And so the plan was, like, as soon as he comes out, he's 2 weeks early, so they immediately take him up to NICU, which is the intensive care for babies. And Enoch, my husband, stays with him the whole time because I'm obviously not able to go. So as soon as he's born, they whisk him away, and Enoch stays with him. So as soon as that happened, something happened on the table. I'm not sure. Like, once I saw him, I went out of it, and they rushed me. I remember waking up, and they, like, rushed me down a hall in an elevator. And, I mean, I'm assuming it was the basement, I don't know, but so they even took me into a more serious ICU. And so it's the ICU, like, I've never seen anything like this, but all the lights are off. It's, like, pitch black, except where lights were needed. And there's, like, different rooms, not rooms, but, like, the clear, like, curtains that you can see into, like, the people next to you. And I just remember being so thirsty and coming in and out, and nurses, like, working on me. But there was, like, other people down there. Like, I know 2 women down there, I heard their babies. So I remember just wishing, like, oh, I wish I could have been like them, like, even still be sick, but have my baby, But I was down there for hours, like, couldn't see anybody. Anybody couldn't, like, nobody could get to me. Like, you couldn't have visitors. They would just, like, tell my mom, like, they're working on her. She's, she's not doing well or whatever. So finally they brought me back up to, like, the ICU I was initially in, and I got to see my mom and my friends and my husband, and they all got to see the baby. They let them up in NICU to see the baby. So they showed me pictures, but I couldn't see the baby yet because I was too sick, which really made me, like, mad and sad. But they were just like, you're too sick, like, you just have to lay down. We can't risk your health. Your baby's fine. Your family's with your baby. Just don't worry. So he was born 2 pounds and 10 ounces.
Oh, wow.
So he's very tiny. And then, so the very next day after I gave birth, I still hadn't seen my baby that I had given birth to. So I'll never forget, my friend Christina came over to the hospital to see me, and I have been bugging the nurses all day to let me see the baby. And so one nurse, I haven't been able to get up or do anything. And so the nurse told me, she said, if you can go to the bathroom, like get up from the bed, go to the bathroom by yourself without fainting or throwing up, then you can see your baby. She said, because we can't risk you going up there to see your baby and then you're falling out. You know what I mean? She said, so we just have to make sure you can do it. So she first time I got up and tried it, I threw up. And so she was like, no. She said, we'll try again in 2 hours. So I was like, oh my God, 2 hours finally came. And she was like, so I was getting ready. She had like unbuttoned me because I had a catheter hooked up to me and everything still. So she had did all that, and for some reason something paged her. She had to leave. So she told Christina, she said, if she throws up a pass out, she can't go up there because she had brought in the wheelchair. So I had to stand up for a while, walk around. So I got up. So Christina said, okay. She was like, yeah, if it happens, we won't go up there. She said, I'll let you know. She was like, okay, I'll be right back. And so I got up, and I literally stood up from the bed and fainted. And I remember I got up, and I looked at Christina. I was like, Christina, you better not say nothing to that nurse. She was like, I don't know what to do. She was like, no. But she said, no. I was like, I was like, I want to see my baby. I've literally not seen my baby since giving birth. I was like, I refuse. So I was able to, like, pull myself up on the wheelchair. I was like, don't say anything. I was like, I will literally never talk to you again if you say something. So the nurse came in, and she was like, did she do okay? She was like, yeah, she did. And so
that's ride or die friendship right there.
Right. I was so grateful for her because she, like, was so back and forth, like, which one do I do? Because she's like, I don't want you to be sick and hurt yourself. So they took me up there. She went up there. They rolled me up there in the wheelchair, and they, like, pulled me up there, and there he was, like, in the incubator, like, his skin, like, you could see he was see-through. Like, you could see his veins underneath his skin. He had to have, like, a special, like, UV ray over his eyes, so, like, the light wouldn't bother him. He had, like, a tube to help him breathe in his nose and a feeding tube in his mouth because he hadn't learned to swallow. So that was, like, I was so happy to see him, and I remember being like, can I hold him, please? And they were like, yeah, you can hold him. And so they, like, you know, were able to, they have to, like, remove all that stuff so it's still on them, but you can hold him. And I got to hold him. I just remember being like, feeling like this is the best feeling in the world. Like, my initial thought was like, oh my God, I want 10 million more babies. Just to feel that feeling, like, it really is like a different type of love. It's like a love for your, you know, family, a love for your spouse, and then there's like a love that like a parent has for his child or a mom. It's just like so amazing. I remember just being so glad to finally being able to hold him. So, like, I held him for as long as I could before they were like, okay, we need to put him back under the light. And then I got sick again or something. So that was it. And so they took me back to my room, and every day I would get to go up there and see him just, like, at first just for a little while because he was really doing great for how he was because they gave us, like, a timeline, like, of how long he would have to stay on the breathing machines and how long they would have to, like, keep him under the light. And he was just, like, beating all of that so early. But I was the one that was still kind of sick and in recovery. One night I was in there, and all of a sudden all my machines, they still have me hooked up to machines. Usually people with preeclampsia, after you give birth, giving birth solves that high blood pressure problem. But for some reason, mine was still not going down. Mine was still in the 250s. I remember the day they got it down to 220, and we all celebrated. Like, my doctor, the nurses, like, and that's still really high. So it was a big deal. And one night, all my machines kept going off, and, like, 2 nurses rushed in, and then somebody rushed in. I had to sign all this paperwork and didn't really know what I was signing, but they had to do an emergency blood transfusion. And they were like, oh, you lost so much blood when you were doing this, what they say, on the table. But during the cesarean, but made me so angry, they didn't tell me that. Like, after cesarean, they weren't like, oh, Whitney, we want you to know you lost a lot of blood, and we're going to see how your body responds. It wasn't until my body responded negatively, like 2 days later, and they were doing the blood transfusion, that they said, oh, we're giving you a blood transfusion. I was like, what is going on? She's like, we're giving you a blood transfusion now. I was like, what? Like, don't you think you guys should have told me this, that I lost a lot of blood? You know, and maybe they did, and I was completely out of it, but I think I would have remembered that. Because I remember specifically being so angry about that. And so finally a week after that, I got to be moved out of ICU into regular, like a childbirth ward, which was pretty cool because I really was excited about that. And then I would just go see the baby just for like hours, 2 or 3 times a day. And then when I finally got to go home, like that 3 weeks into it, my doctor didn't even want me to go home. She was like, I would rather you stay until we, like, get your pressure. Just everything with me wasn't great yet. And she was like, plus you're in the same, like, you're down the hall from your baby. Don't you want to be there? And I was like, no, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be able to, like, stay with my baby as much time as possible without, like, going back and forth. Plus, it just sucks in the hospital room. And plus, I'm still dealing with, like, the emotions of, like, my baby being in ICU, which was, like, very emotionally hard for me. Like, I don't know throughout how the whole moment, looking back on it, how I got through it. That whole time I was in the hospital and they were, like, worried about, oh, you, like, your pressure's up, you can lose your baby, or, like, we may have to take the baby. Let's at least try to make it 30 weeks. I never was, like, worried. I never was ever worried that, like, my baby would not be okay. I was like, they would be like, you have a headache your first time, you okay? I'm like, I'm good. And I do not know why. Like, it was obviously my faith in God, but even then I wasn't, like, gassing myself like, oh, God, you got this. I wasn't even saying that. I was just like, no, like, everything is going to be fine. I think it was just, like, grace. Because if I would have been, it would have been, like, way worse. I would have been crying everywhere. Like, so I would just be like, okay, no, I'm good. And, but once my baby was born and me having to be separated from him was, like, just the most difficult thing ever. So when I finally got from home, because you have cesarean, cesarean is, like, to me, one of the worst surgeries in the world. It's so hard to recover from because they cut your abdominal muscle. So, like, things like standing up and picking up, like, there's so many things you don't realize you do with that muscle. And anytime you try to stand up, like, you literally have to roll over and get up, like, it's weird, because that muscle has to grow back. And so after cesarean, they tell you can't drive for, like, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And the very next day, once I finally got home, I was driving because my baby was in the NICU. Because they were like, oh, you got to get somebody to bring you. I'm like, yes, I will have somebody drop me off. But no, every morning at 7 a.m. I would wake up. I would be in that NICU with him, and I would not leave till like 10, 12 p.m. at night. And the nurses would be like, don't you have to use the bathroom? And I'm like, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. And I think it was hard for me being separate. Like, and I know some moms had it worse because some moms could only come see their babies like once a week on Saturday when they had somebody to bring them, or they had other kids they had to take care of. Because your kid, my babies are in there for like long periods of time, so you get used to knowing who's right next to your kid. They're like little small rooms, but they're all connected, kind of. It's hard to explain. So I kind of knew like what baby was what, because the baby crying, you hear a nurse going there, you know their names. But my family growing up, whenever somebody was in the hospital, we always believed they shouldn't be left by themselves. Like, if my grandma goes in the hospital today, my aunt would be there, and then my mom, we would all take turns. We believe, like, somebody's with them 24/7. And that's how I was raised. So it's really hard for me to be, like, leave my baby in that hospital. So anytime I would go home, I would literally, as soon as I get in the elevator, I would just, like, break down in tears. And it was just, like, so hard, just, like, how can I leave him? You know what I mean? And they would give you a number to call, and sometimes he would cry as soon. It'd be so crazy. Like, babies can really, like, they know their mom's voice. They know your scent. He could be sleeping. As soon as I walked into the room, he would, like, wake up if he heard my voice. Or as soon as I would put him down, because that hospital is really great. They really believe in, like, skin to skin. Mm-hmm. So most of the nurses, there's only one nurse who would rather him be in the incubator than me hold him. And then I got in a big argument with her, and she said, whatever, you can hold him. And I'm like, no, I know skin to skin. Like, no. All the other nurses let me do it because every day they have a different nurse. It just depends on their rotation. And so most of them would let me hold him, but and they were like, you want to use the bathroom? And I'd be afraid that once they, like, put him back and put all that stuff back on him, like his tubes and stuff, they wouldn't want me to get him back out. So I'd be like, I will hold my pee all day.
That's why you never said you want to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's why I never go to the bathroom. I will hold it all day just so I can make sure, like, I'm just, like, there holding my baby, because I had ended up taking a couple of classes in college about, like, childbirth and stuff, and talked about the importance of, like, skin to skin and how it helps build kids up and how it helps their immune system get stronger. So I was like, I think I'm going to hold this pee until I'm about to faint because I want to, like, hold my baby. And then he got to the point where he got out of the incubator, and once he did, then I could, like, hold him anytime, So every little milestone he took was just, like, such a blessing. It was just such a blessing. But I remember the main thing that I really, really wanted was I just kept saying, like, I want to talk to somebody who's been to this. Like, I want to meet somebody whose baby was in NICU and see their baby out of NICU. I know he's going to get out, but 8 weeks is just, like, so incredibly long. And I just want to see see something, like, tangible where I could say, oh, you're a kid, you went through that, and look at your baby now. And I did know, like, a friend's brother but their baby was in there, like, 2 weeks, and, like, mine came 10 weeks early. Like, I wanted somebody with that specific amount of time. And Northside did have a support group that met, like, once a week with moms who gave, like, preterm birth and who were in there. But I never had time to go because I'd be holding my baby. Plus, I wanted to talk to somebody, but that was something that I remember I always wish I had. Like, I was like, I just need to find somebody. I just need to know somebody because that would make me feel so much better about it. But no, so he slowly, like, there's certain milestones they have to hit. Like, he has to be able to, like, breathe so far on his own, and his heart has to beat. And then, then they finally say, oh, you can bring him clothes on, which is huge because once he gets under that light, he doesn't need clothes on. So then I finally got to go, like, get him, like, preterm clothes, and he has to, like, gain weight because he was 2 pounds, so he couldn't go. They wouldn't even consider sending him home until he can fit in the car seat. And we got a special car seat that'll hold 4 pounds, so, like, there was not even a thought of him going home until he hit 4 pounds. Like, I'm constantly like, how much you weigh, and learning how to turn ounce, like calculate ounces and weigh. He this many ounces now. We need 3 more ounces, but we hit 3 pounds. And it's just all of that, just kind of working together, and just like all those emotions of trying to, like, you just went through a major surgery, like a cesarean, on top of everything else that was going on with my body. Because when they sent me home, I was taking 6 pills 3 times a day for my pressure. It still wasn't where it needed to be. It was still like an issue. And then having my baby, you know, in intensive care. But luckily for me, we live less than 5 minutes away from the hospital, you know, and I had a car and I was able to drive. And I set up there every single day, holding him. And then finally, once we got closer to the last day, they were thinking about sending him home. And then that night his heart rate dropped. And they, like, had to call the doctors in there and get his heart beating back up. So they were like, oh, he's going to stay here a little bit longer. And, like, you know, you tell yourself this is a good thing because you don't want to take your baby home and, like, something happens. So, like, yeah, this is a good thing, you know. My mom would try to encourage me, like, let them keep him as long as possible, like, whatever. He's around doctors 24/7, you know, and then my mind would just go to the craziest places, like, when I wasn't there, like, what if a terrorist going there, a crazy person, and want to shoot up the NICU, even though it's so hard to get in there, like, it's so hard. Like, you have to go to the floor, you have to check with 2 people, your name has to be on the list. Only parents can go in, unless for grandparents can, but anybody else, a parent has to be there. But my mind would just go on those thoughts, and I would literally, like, sometimes I'd be there at 6 a.m., you know, and I would leave at midnight. I would just stay as late until Enoch would call me and say, you know, come home. And he was like, come home. Like, how late are you going to stay? And I went, and then finally I went to visit him one day. I went to visit him every day like I had been, and the doctor was like, you can take him home today. I was like, what? She was like, yeah, you can take him home. I was like, OMG. She was like, we were just about to call you and take you. She was like, we know you get here early, so we're trying to beat you here to it. And she was like, do you need to go home and get, like, his stuff, like his cards and stuff? I was like, I've been having it in my car already. I was like,
Right.
I was like, I got everything I need. And so she was like, okay. She was like, well, do you want your husband to come get you, you know, so he could, like, roll you out of the wheelchair because they have to roll you out of the wheelchair? I was like, yes. And I called Enoch, and he was at work doing, like, tennis. He was doing the summertime for his kids. So I had him in April, and he didn't come home till June. So that's how long, So that's how long he was in there for. But he didn't even last he lasted like 6.5 weeks. So he didn't even stay till his 8 weeks. That's how well he was doing. Because he was eating more than he was supposed to. They wouldn't feed him. He would cry and cry wanting more. And they were like, his stomach just cannot hold enough. Just how he is now. He can just eat. And then just like, he needs to go home. And after it was 2 nights before, the nurse was like, he needs to go home. This boy is fine. But so Enoch was like, wow, my tennis camp, he was like, I got 3 hours. I can't really take a break till noon, like lunchtime. And obviously I got there like 7 a.m. So I had been seeing, like, you know how you see on TV, the moms roll them out and the husband come out and get the baby and put him in and then put the wife in. And so that's what they were like. That's what they do. She was like, we have to roll you out by wheelchair. And I was like, well, is it okay if I drive myself home? And then she kind of looked and she was like, I think so. So they said yes. So they rolled me out in the wheelchair, and I got straight out that wheelchair and put him in the car seat and drove us on home. And that was just like I can't even tell you, like, how amazing that feeling, how, like, having him home and just, like, making it through that journey. Like, I think I must have cried the whole way home because going through that was so difficult. Like, there's nothing, you know, like, some people's babies stay in there for, like, 2 to 3 months. You know what I mean? And I just cannot imagine what those families, those parents go through. Because mine only being in there not even 7 weeks was the hardest thing that I've ever been through. And, like, I look back on it, and, I mean, I just don't know. Like, sometimes I would literally cry all the way down the elevator, all the way down through the parking lot to my car, and all the way in the house. Like, I just, like, how can I was just like, like make myself feel bad. Like, how can I leave my kid? You know what I mean? Like, they don't let you spend. I mean, I guess they can, but they like tell you to go home. Like, there's no reason to be there. They don't have like a bed where you can sleep. Because if they did, you know, I would have been there. I would have been living there. But that was just like so. That was just like, I just cannot even explain how tough that is.
So did you have anyone to like vent? I mean, I know you were saying like you wanted someone to be able to talk to who was in a similar situation, but did you have anyone who you could share, like who could understand on that level?
No, I just didn't talk to anyone about it. Like, sometimes I would talk to, you know, Big, you know, seeing about it, and he would just be like, it'll be okay, don't worry about it, he's fine. You know, but nobody really asked me how I was doing either. It was just like, you know, more excitement for the baby, and at the same time, you didn't really. When he was born, my husband like told all our friends there, like, don't tell anybody that he was born. So we didn't really. Just my close inner circle knew, like, we didn't announce it. You know, at work, you know, they would usually announce that they. My boss and my supervisor came to check on me, but they were like, do you want us to send it out to the company? And I was just like, no, I don't want to send it out yet. And it wasn't because I didn't want anybody to know he came so early, just for the matter of fact that he was so weak. And I don't know if it's superstition or just like something kind of like in my culture that I grew up, not so much Black culture, but maybe like Louisiana or I don't know. Just the people around me growing around that family, just like certain stuff you don't put out there because you don't want people to say negative things or wish negative things. You just like kind of protect it, so only like positive prayers and everything are going up. So I just really want to like protect him as much as possible. And I know at the same time for me, I kind of dealt better with it without so many people knowing, calling me, checking up on me, asking me about it. At least I thought I would fare well that way. Like, maybe it would have been better if I just felt like, okay, I need to get through this. I need to focus him on this. You know, like, don't worry about my phone.
Do you think it would have been better? Like, if there were more people to reach out to, or even just one or two, just
I don't
people?
know. Well, I mean, like, if I'm saying, like, more people knew, but, like, my inner circle, like, you know, our whole team and my family knew. But, you know, I don't think because no one ever went through it, they were just like, oh, how you do. It's more so focused on, like, how, you know, how is the baby doing? But I think, like, I know if I ever had anybody who was going through that, I know, like, I would need to reach out to them, which I did. A girl like Coyote we worked with, baby was in NICU for 2 weeks, and I constantly called her and checked on her and would do anything I could for her, and I told her that she had to talk to somebody about it because it could come out in such a negative way, which it affected me in a negative way in the long run. I did not handle that grief properly, you know, not grief like I lost him, but it was still like a major grief dealing with him, you know, being ill like that, coming early and, you know, not having lungs develop and stuff like that. So, you know, I wish like my family was more like, what's going on? What, you know, how are you? Make sure you do that. But, you know, my family's more like, whatever you're going through, you push through it and you make it through, you know.
Okay, so it wasn't a thing of like they just didn't know the severity of it. It was just that's how they deal with things is
right. And then
out.
you know, and then like my friends too, they probably did ask me how I was and stuff, and I probably just said fine. Like I just don't remember. Everything is just like such a blur. But I do remember like getting home and just being so grateful that like that part was over, you know. But then at the same time, I had developed what I found out a year later was postpartum anxiety, which I didn't even know was a thing. We only hear about postpartum depression.
So this is like the opposite.
Yeah, so, this is like you.
I didn't know that was a real thing.
Yeah, you're just completely anxious. You worry about things that aren't there. You know, you can have anxiety attacks and things. And mine only got worse over time. But when he came home, I was like, when he came home, you know, first thing that you worry about with newborns is SIDS, like sudden infant death syndrome. When they can die from like the way they're laying down, like it can stop them from breathing. They don't really know what causes it. They just tell you certain things to do to prevent it, like lay them on hard surfaces, don't have any pillows or anything in their bed, blankets and things like that. And so I make sure, but if you are premature, you have a higher risk of a baby passing away from some infant death syndrome. So obviously I couldn't even sleep at night. I would literally just be watching him, making sure he was breathing. And if I felt it, I would wake up and be like, oh my God, is he breathing? And I rarely ever slept. And then once I kind of got comfortable with that, I became so anxious of somebody stealing my baby. I know it sounds so crazy. I cannot explain it. I would like constantly watch the news. And my mom was like, you have to turn off the TV because and my friend Christina, anybody else who would call me, check up on me, come over, tell me, I would be like, did you know this happened on the news or somebody this happened? And I would constantly Google my address and like police reports and check the police reports around the area to make sure like no weird crimes have happened around my neighborhood. And if
this
it hadn't,
anxiety, the postpartum anxiety,
right? Yeah. If it hadn't,
so was that what you were experiencing too when you were like, I don't know if a terrorist could come in while he was in the hospital, and you were like, the terrorist.
Yeah. That was part of it too because, like, what's going on? Just like normal stuff. So whenever we would go to bed, I would literally have to check the doors multiple times. I would have to lock our bedroom door. You know, I had to buy me a bag to put by my bed because I was so anxious. And then sometimes I would just get up and look out the front door and be like looking at the peephole, just waiting for somebody to walk by.
Really?
And my husband, and then Enoch could be like, why are you acting like we got $100 million in this house? What is anybody going to want? He's like, there's nothing in this house anybody wants.
But how long would you wait at the peephole?
It's like a few minutes because I'd be scared. Like, what if I'm doing somebody, I pop in there. But then, like, sometimes I would just get up at the end of the hallway from where I can see the peephole and make sure it's not, like, all the way dark because that means, like, somebody's standing in front of it. And so that would just, like, drive me absolutely insane. But I did not even realize that, like, that was a problem. Like, it hadn't even done on me.
What was
What did you say?
How did you learn? Because you said you didn't realize until later that postpartum.
Until my mom told me to turn off the TV because, like, literally, Krista, I would not go anywhere unless it was, like, to the doctor. If we had to go to the store, like, with the baby, if I had to buy myself, I'd be like, oh, my gosh. And then the worst thing that could have happened, a McDonald's, like, not too far away from where we live, a woman was putting her baby in the car seat. A man opened the opposite door and took the baby out the car seat and ran away with it. Like, she followed him and stuff. And he was still able to get the baby and ran away with it, but they caught him. And my mom was like, Lord, why did you have to see that? And I was like...
That's what I was about to say. Why did you see that of all the things?
So, even when we would go to the store, even still now, even though my anxiety's that big, I unlock the door, put him in it, and then I will lock it back so nobody can open the door on the other side. And that's how intense my anxiety got. I had no idea I was even dealing with that until my mom kind of was like, what is going on? She was like, she was just like, turn off the TV, stop watching the news. I was like, okay, Whitney, do not watch the news. So I would, like, go, like, 2 or 3 days not watching it, and then I would just, like, purge. Like, I need to know every crime that happened in the city of Atlanta and how close it was. And my main goal is to keep my baby safe, and I really think it's from my baby being in NICU and me not having my baby in, like, fear of losing him. Even though I didn't lose him, but still I wasn't with him, you know what I mean? Again. And so, but that's, you know, that kind of went away, and it wasn't as intense as it was because I went back to work after 6 months, and he was 6 months, and so the first month he stayed with my mom, and then he went to daycare. But it really was kind of intense because the daycare had cameras, and I would literally spend most of my day on that camera, and I would literally make a little window on my second screen and just have it up there so I could see what's going on all the time. And then
Were you
he made about,
were you still in the anxiety when he was at the daycare?
I was pretty okay because of that camera. But anytime, like, they let him cry too long or something like that, best believe I would call and be like, what's going on? But I would do that anyway if it wasn't the anxiety. And then we had to switch that school because of the cameras I saw once he got moved into the first grade 1 year classroom. It was just like a lot of stuff that we didn't like, and we moved into a school that my stepbrother and sister went to from childbirth, and they're really great. And they have cameras, but the thing is, you don't have access to the cameras. But the people up front watch the cameras, and I was like, I'll be okay with this. He was 1 then. I was just so glad at their program because they have a teacher. No teacher has more than 4 kids and stuff like that. It's expensive, but it was worth it for my peace of mind. And that really helped me having that separation. But when I was diagnosed was when my friend Tacola was getting ready to graduate for her master's, and we were all going down to Savannah to go to the graduation. This was the first time I actually was leaving him overnight. Like, that my birthday before the color run, I had to leave him at my mom's earlier. Because remember, the color run that we went on was like 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, so he had to spend the night. And that was the first time he ever spent the night that I can remember. But I got anxiety, so I had diarrhea, and I was throwing up all that morning of that color run. That's why I didn't run. Remember, all y'all kind of ran and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I had to walk because I felt so sick, and it was because I left him. And I didn't realize that at the time that's what it was. I was just like, what is going on? What is going on? I think Tacola kind of mentioned, like, are you worried about him? Because I kept bringing him up. Like, we were at Christina's mom's house. I kept saying, like, can't wait to go home and get my baby or whatever. Didn't know that Enoch had that surprise birthday party. Mm-hmm. But when we got ready to go to Savannah, I was so nervous. I was just, like, calming myself down. I wasn't really telling anybody. But I was just, like, feeling anxious about it. But I knew, like, this isn't normal. I should be able to leave my kid for, like, it was only, like, 2 nights or 3 nights. And that morning I was, like, packing up his food. He was 1. I was, like, packing up his food to take to my mom. I had, like, made all his stuff. And I was in the kitchen. And I was kind of got anxious. Once I started, like, packing up his food, I just started getting real anxious, like, you know, like, about leaving him and not being with him. And I passed out. I woke up with Enoch over me, waking me up from fainting.
Oh, wow.
And I was so anxious that I fainted. I was like, okay. And my mom was like, you know, this is something that you have to, like, get with Dad. And it still was like, no. That's when I started working with counselors to work with some stuff that we were like, okay, maybe this is the issue that I'm having. And if I tackle this issue from, like, my childhood, maybe this will happen. And that really helped. But that wasn't the root of it. So about later on that year, in November, I started having really bad anxiety attacks. But it had to do with work. It had nothing to do with him. But I just had so much going on at work. I had so much going on in life with him, taking care of baby. Enoch was, like, working more hours, and my job had just given me a new position, and I started school all on the same day. So had a lot of stress. But my anxiety, couldn't drive. I'd be driving, I would have anxiety attached to the point I would have to pull over, and my husband would have to leave work and come get me and drive me home. They would have to send one of my friends or come get me. And finally one day I was picking up the baby from school, and I was just like, oh my God, I cannot drive. And I called my mom, was like, can I come to your house? She lives right by school. She stopped, came and got me, took my car keys from me, and made me stay at her house for like 3 days. Wouldn't let me go to work the next day. Wouldn't give me back my car keys because she was like, this has gone on for too long because the baby was like a year and a half. She's like, you are going to the doctor tomorrow. I'm taking you to the doctor tomorrow. She was like, you're not driving for the rest of the week. So, like, once I went to the doctor those 2 days, the next 2 days I went to work, she drove me to work and back to her house. And she was like, I'm not
getting control from you like that.
Huh?
How did that feel, like, when she took control and was like, you're not leaving, you're not going to work, like, I'm taking your car?
I was like, Mommy, what are you doing? Like, no, I have to go to work. And she was just like, no, you're staying here. I mean, you know, nothing. Like, that's what Mama do what she's saying. You know, I don't want to get hit. So I just said, yes, ma'am. Okay. So,
right.
So that was, can't say no. At least I wouldn't want to. So, yeah, like, she had Enoch bring up my clothes, and he came up to her house and stayed with me while we were there, and she was just, like, set up. She was like this, and when we went to the doctor, I was telling her what's going on, and she was like, no. And also this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And they was like, what's going on? And then she would just start talking like I'm not there. And so that's when the doctor told me I had postpartum anxiety. You know, they gave me anxiety medicine for it. Got me with like a counselor to talk to and work through it. And I was really hesitant about getting on medicine. That's why I first just did the counselor the first time, because I was like, I don't want to get on anything addicting, or I just don't want to become numb. So she was like, no, that one deal will put you on like Lessapro, 10 milligrams, and we'll see how that works. And it really helped. Like, it really stopped. It really stopped all of it. And then just this last.
You mean like the symptoms, the attacks and stuff went away, or what specifically?
Yeah.
How did it help?
No, it stopped the attacks. It stopped the anxiety. I wasn't like looking out the window. I mean, looking out, you know, the peephole. I still do it every now and then. But that's just like me. But not like, oh, I'm not afraid of anybody taking my baby, you know, like I let him like run up the steps by himself or walk across the street. As I had it now, I do realize like, oh, I had a serious issue. And anytime I know somebody going through something like that, I'm like the first one, because we never hear about postpartum anxiety. We really hear about depression. And the first couple doctors my mom started taking me to, they were really like, oh, are you depressed? We think you have postpartum depression. They were like asking those questions you asked, and I had none of those symptoms. I'm like, no. Until finally, I was like, no, this is just like postpartum anxiety. And then I looked it up, and it's all this stuff on it. We don't hear about it. But no, it helped. I got off my medicine this past March. I've been off a little bit like this week. And even then, it's just been like my doctor's just been like, okay, we'll get off of it. He didn't want to take me off of it. But I was like, no, like it's important to me to make sure that I can get off of it. So he's like, we'll take you off. We'll see how you do, and then we need to get back on. But I've been doing great so far, 6 weeks in, but yeah, that's just kind of like my birthing story. And, you know, why I think my story is so important, too, is so often we only hear about, like, the positive sides of childbirth, but there's so many things that go wrong, and, you know, when we're not prepared, because we don't hear about those things, even about, you know, the excessive throwing up and how, like, horrible it can be, or just about so many other things that I didn't know that nobody ever talks about, you know.
Yeah, I never
And
heard any, like, the people, when they talk about, they just show up with a baby, like someone would go off and then they come back, and they've had their
right.
baby, like, oh, how's everything? And they're like, oh, little whoever is doing really good, but no one shares. And I was going to ask you that, like, when you're pregnant, like, are there, like, inner circles, or are there, like, resources that give you guys the real deal about pregnancy? Because, like, as a person,
No.
like, who's never
I never.
given birth, I know I wouldn't know any of that information, but do you guys have that?
I know. I mean, like, I've literally read like 3 books. None of them really, like, it kind of glazed over treating cancer, but didn't go in that in depth. Excuse me. But like all the stuff that like other people I've known who've had babies who have had complications, every new complication, I'm like, wow. But then I look at it and it's such a big deal, you know, like a study just came out that said for African American women, the more educated you are, the more likely you're going to lose your baby or have some type of traumatic thing happen in childbirth. You know what I mean?
Why?
Yeah.
What? How?
In the study, they said they're still trying to figure out. It is like has nothing to do with DNA because African women who live in America now, they don't have the same thing. It's specifically to Black women, and the only thing they're saying is usually like because you're more educated, you know, like the more degrees you have. They say usually Black women have to work twice as hard as more, so it's just the amount of stress that, you know, they're carrying, that they're doing, the load that they're having.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, as women that I know, you know, who've gone through that, I'm just like, wow. I mean, I was telling my friends once I went through the pregnancy, I'm like, I didn't realize up to like 1920, half of the women any woman who went through childbirth died. The death rate was 50%. So childbirth is like very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing, you know.
I mean, now that I've heard your story, and then I was sharing with you, like, I heard this story yesterday of this woman sharing her story, and so much stuff you don't hear about. Like, she was saying there's this part of the pregnancy when the baby goes down the back, and then it's basically breaking open the muscles in the back to like help make, I don't know, it's just stuff like, and like tearing, like, and I only know about tearing because I like specifically asked a woman who had a kid once. I was like, what really goes on? She didn't even go into it. Yeah, she didn't even like open up into it, but like I would think that like people who are pregnant, like even your mom or like a close woman in your family would be real with you and like be honest. Like, it is not what you see on TV. It's like, expect this, expect this. But like, I even like asked my mom recently, and like, I mean, I guess people are scared to share the realness. I don't know. Like it surprises me that you say like, even when you were pregnant, the resources that you had didn't go into detail of like the realness of it.
I know. Yeah, the information's not out there. Maybe it's not too scary because, I mean, I don't know. I really do not know.
Do you think that would have helped you? Like, because I know, like, your situation, you know, you were in danger as well as Enoch Jr. So, like, I don't even know how you would prepare for something like that, but do you think there's anything that could have prepared you for something like that?
Well, I wish when I got pregnant and I'm, like, going to my personal primary care doctor, and then I get switched over to my OBGYN and my high-risk doctor, that they're like, hey, because you have, you know, high blood pressure, even though it's, you know, fine, and you are able to keep it regular with medication, there's a high chance that preeclampsia can happen. And if it does happen, you know, this is what you may have to give your baby early and leave other chances. Just things like that. We're going to watch out for protein. I wish they would tell me at the beginning because I would have researched it. I would have had, like, what week, like, when they would have had me in the hospital and just been like, hey, we need to take the baby. And I'm just like, no. I already know, like, okay, if I wait till this much, I have this amount percentage, to keep him there. And I just would have been very more knowledgeable in my decisions and, like, been very prepared for it. I wish I would have known that. And then I wish that when he did go into NICU, they try to help you, I guess, as much. Northside is really, like, one of the best hospitals. They, like, have all the resources for you. But I really wish, that I don't know. I don't know. I don't think they could get anything better on that side.
But still,
like I said, they even had a support group.
Could have been.
Yeah. They even had a support group every Tuesday at 7. It was just like, I'm sorry, I can't come. They want to be my baby. So,
is there something? Because yours is kind of two-sided. So you had to deal with your baby being in intensive care, being 2 pounds, like having to meet these milestones and being separated so much from him. But then you too also had to deal with your own physical and emotional and mental healing at the same time. So, like, was there... So, I know you said that you wish there was someone you could talk to about, someone who had been through their baby being in NICU, but was there anything for you just healing from a pregnancy, healing from a C-section? Like, was there information for you on that front? Like, for your own personal?
I think healing from a C-section, they give you, like, all this material. And they tell you to, like, lay down, don't move anything, don't drive. So that, like, wasn't an option for me because my baby was in NICU. And honestly, it's not an option for women who have, like, healthy babies at full term because you are bringing home a newborn you have to take care of. It's not like everybody has, like, a parent there who's able to, like, take off.
In American society, that's not a realistic.
Yeah, like, most of us women are there by themselves. Their husbands, if they do have a partner, have to go back to work. Their parents probably have to go back, you know what I mean? So that's the thing about cesareans. But as far as me emotionally and spiritually healing like that, I did not do that because I was so concerned about him. And because I didn't do that the right way, that's why I ended up with the anxiety that I had. I just didn't handle that mentally. Like, it was so much going on at one time, and I didn't have the intelligence enough at the time that I would now to say, hey, I need to stop and do some self-care on myself so I can also be, like, a good mom, a good person for take care of myself.
But I know that's what you were doing anyways. Like, you're like, I'm being a good mom, I need to go be there for my baby, so it's not like you weren't.
Yeah.
Like, with the knowledge.
But now I would be like, but now, like, it'll be like, hey, I need to talk about this with somebody. This is so much going on at one time. Like, it's just, it's just too many emotions at one time. Like, haven't even thought about, I almost died when I gave birth. Like, literally have not even, like, haven't even had time to just even register that. Versus, like, so it's just, I think that's why it's so important that women and just people in general talk to each other or, like, know each other's stories. Because, like, if somebody here's me going through this now and they know me and can reach out to me, and they could go there, they could say, hey, Whitney, I know you went through the same thing. Like, can I talk to you? Or you know what I mean? Just kind of like the girl who used to work at Coyote did. She called me and said, I know your baby was in NICU and mine is, like, what do you, any advice you have? It's just important to know, for people to know those stories and to know who to reach out to so they don't have to suffer the same way. And I was like, you need to do this, because you can get, if you don't handle it right way, you can end up with anxiety like I did, and that's just, or anything to prevent any other thing, just to be mentally healthy. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is really, like, first of all, thank you for sharing this. And, you know, this is not only just like you're sharing it with one person, but, you know, you never know who will hear it. And if someone's going through it in the future, they can go pull up the episode and be like, wow, that's exactly what I needed. I needed to know that this is, you know, there's powerful information in this, you know. So, like, I think it's awesome that you wanted, that you shared this, because there's so much. I mean, even just like your story, like there's so much, like you in the basement, like having a blood transfusion, didn't even know, like, this is so crazy, like what goes
right,
on.
it's like unbelievable.
Like, no one, like, there's so much that happened, and it's like, I mean, was it, God, I can only, like, when you're like postpartum anxiety, I could just see it in my mind. Like, there's literally, just from hearing your story, like, so much built up that you ran into, like, this wall of, like, stuff that you couldn't, like, you went through so much at one time. That's just so insane.
You can, like, have the time to, like, process it all.
Right.
You know?
And then you have this
and
whole,
imagine if I had, like
person.
Yeah, if I had 3 kids at home. You know, like, imagine if I already had kids. So I'm worried about my new baby, myself, and, like, what's going on with my kids. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine, like, moms who have, like...
And then moms who are,
you know,
parents who don't even have any other help. Like, they're... Like,
right.
that.
Like, just that, those burdens that, like, women are carrying, you know, and sometimes they never get to get them released. So
how's
it's
Enoch?
important that... Enoch, how is the baby now?
Yeah.
He is great. He has tons of energy, running around, nonstop. Yeah, he's just a healthy, normal boy. So we're just very blessed, which they said he would be. So yep, he's been doing swimming lessons for a year. He's been doing tennis lessons for a little bit over a year. He's about to start drum lessons, so he's just super busy, and he has all the energy.
That's awesome. I have 2 questions, because I'm such an inexperienced person when it comes to, like, pregnancies and, like, the reproduction life. So, like, when he was in NICU, he was in there to basically develop to the point where he would have, at, like, a 40-week pregnancy, like, he had he was developing to, okay. And then my other...
Because he couldn't come... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so he has to learn all those things. Like, so he had to learn how to breathe on his own, because he couldn't breathe on his own yet, so they had to wait till his lungs develop, so when they could take him off that machine, they could do that. A baby, like, start maybe around, like, 32 weeks, they start just swallowing the fluid in the mom's belly. And, like, swallowing that fluid builds up their cheek muscles. So then they are able to, like, when they come out the womb, they're able to take the nipple out the bottom. But he hadn't done that, so he had a feeding tube. Then they would give him a pacifier, and then they would be like, push the pacifier on him. And the more and more he did that, that built up his cheek muscles. And then finally, then we would start giving him a bottle for a little while. He'd stop and stop. So finally his muscles got strong enough to take a bottle. It's just like so many things they have to develop. And that's why those nurses and doctors are true little miracle workers. They really are.
Even stuff like that, like, non-stuff like that, I think is important. But, and then that's the other thing I was going to ask you was that, like, how did he eat? Because I was wondering if you were able to feed him, or how did, but you said he had a feeding.
So I pumped breast milk. Yeah, so I pumped breast milk. and they put it in, they would take my breast milk and put it in his feeding tube in his nose, which he hated and would constantly pull out. He hated it in his nose. And then once he got older, they would give him it in the bottle. And so then, because he was premature, they would take a specific formula for premature babies and mix it with the breast milk to give him double the calories. So he could, that's how he was able to gain so much weight so much fast. And then when I would be there, they would let him suck on the nipple, let me breastfeed him until, and just to help fill his jaws. And then once he was able to do it full time, then when we got home, we just did breastfeeding. But yeah.
So, have you found any resources, or do you have any like information if someone was like going through something similar, like on both fronts, like with the complications that you had while giving birth and then afterwards, like with your surgery and stuff like that, and then also dealing with a baby in NICU? Like, do you have any information or advice or anything that you think
for anybody who's like dealing with preeclampsia, like right now, your doctor just have to handle that. As far as like, if you don't know it, you have it until they put you into the hospital. But for anybody dealing with their baby being in NICU, each hospital should have a support group for you to reach out to. And then if not, there's plenty of them in Atlanta, and maybe even I'm sure wherever they live. I would just look up and look for a support group for moms or anybody who to talk to who's been through that. Even if it's not for NICU babies, I know once I had Enoch, I wanted to be around other moms, and I was just looking at Atlanta, and so many groups of people who like get together just to be around other moms to just talk about stuff that, because I was kind of like the only one in our friend group here in Atlanta that had kids at the time, so like none of my friends could really understand all of that. So that's just so important. Right. And then for anybody dealing with any type of like, let's find depression, anxiety, even if you don't know, if you don't feel the same, it's just so important to reach out to a professional. And I stress professional, because you don't want to go to a person who doesn't know what they're talking about.
That might lead you astray.
Because you be like my family, and they'll be like, just deal with it, and push through. And that was definitely the right answer. So, luckily I had my mom who was just like, no, something's wrong.
Yeah, I love
that. To the doctor.
That lady said, I need your keys. And
right. She's like, give me your keys and give them, and wouldn't even let me go home. Call my husband to bring me and the baby clothes. So, it's just those right people, but don't waiting, because I suffered with it way longer than I had to, because I was just like, once I realized I had a problem, I was like, I can solve it myself. I can figure it out. I'll do like meditation and just breathe, and it only got worse.
Because I was wondering that too when you said that you had to call your mom and then she took your keys or whatever. I was wondering, or meaning to ask you, like, who knows how long that would have lasted, because you weren't talking, like I think you even said in your story specifically, like you weren't talking to anyone about it.
Right. I was just trying to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And then and Enoch would just come get me, or he would send his friend come pick me up, and they would like drive my car home. he really didn't understand it. He was like, you just need to breathe. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. That's not it. Honestly, if it was that, I could just tell my mind to chill. I would be chilling.
And this is why you stress professionally.
Right. Stress professionals, because people don't even understand anxiety. They think it's just like something that you could be like, oh, if you just relax and chill, why do you do that to yourself? You're not doing it to yourself at all. Not at all.
And that's the stigmas for depression. That's the stigmas for anxiety. That's the stigmas for any kind of, especially.
And that's why people are afraid. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So professional. Talk to a professional, and then like it's nothing wrong with you to get help. It'll be so worth it. You'll be so happy you did it.
Absolutely. So, do you have? That might be a very personal question, but like, so do you feel prepared or feel any different about like in the future? If you were to have more children, is it?
Am I like scared?
Yeah, like.
I am, but I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like I want to have like 2 more kids, and usually what preeclampsia is they like 90% of the time is as far as like the information the doctor says and online says it happens with the first baby. They have no idea why it happens with just the first baby. But I still do have high blood pressure. It's something that I have. Like it's once again, it's fine. Like it finally went back down to normal. Took about 6 months for my body to get back to normal. So I mean, I am gonna try again. I do get worried. Like a friend of mine just lost her baby, and that scared me more than what I went through scared me because I'm just like, I don't know how I can move forward. Like I just feel like that would destroy me, and I don't know if I can move forward with that. So that scares me more so than what I went through. But I do plan on trying again, and but now I have way more knowledge than I had before, and
right.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. So.
I think the only other question that I have for you has slipped my mind. But I do want to note, like, I thought it was pretty awesome, like, throughout your story, like, that your love for your baby was so beyond, like, you caring about your own life. Like, I want, like, in the beginning, like, you're like, I want him to cook in there for as long as possible, regardless of, like, the risk to me. And, yeah, now, like, self-care is crucial when he was in NICU and stuff like that. But, like, I think it's just really cool, like, throughout the whole story, like, I don't care, like, this is my baby. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure.
That's how mama's
my little homie is safe.
Mm-hmm. Still to this day.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because that's pretty. You're like, yeah, that's gone now. I don't really care about him like that.
Right.
Do you have techniques that you said you just recently got off the anxiety medicine? Do you have like stuff that you said recently, like March, you got off the anxiety medicine?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you have stuff that you do now, like for yourself to regulate your anxiety on a natural level without the medication?
Well, now I don't let now. I kind of went through the same thing that you did. Like I say no, so I don't let anything overwhelm me.
Mm-hmm.
And like sometimes even with anything that could like get my anxiety up, like I say no, or if I can't finish something where like before I try to do it all, I just like no, it can't be done today. If people try to like pull at me too much, I stop it. And then with him, I mean, I still have certain anxieties. Like I would never, but certain things that I would still always have, like, the only person he, like, stays with is my mom, you know. That's the only person he spend the night. And if she can't watch him, then we not going.
Right.
So, and that's just kind of like how it is. So I do have those fears. And like this past weekend, I was going out of town from Friday night and didn't come back till Monday. That was a big deal because I was like without him, with no medicine. Because my mom kind of teased. She was like, "You gonna be back on it?" And I was like, and I was fine. You know what I mean? Like I was literally like, every now and then I would be like, "Oh my God, my baby," and I'd be like, "Whitney, breathe, calm down. You know he's fine. You know he's having a good time. Like he loves it over there." So I just have to like breathe through and and I need these times. Like the more times that happens, the like stronger I am with like being like, okay, you know, see you in 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And then like, but other than that, like him staying with like my mom, that too isn't like, oh, so much of my anxiety is just like how I was raised. Like growing up, we didn't get babysitters. Like if my great aunt didn't watch me and my aunt, then my grandma, and we weren't like, you know what I mean, wasn't going. We didn't like spend the night at people's house or do anything like that. So that's just kind of like how I was raised too.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to like keep all that emotion because it was so positive for me. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm doing good 6 weeks in. So we'll see. And if I do have to go back into medicine, my goal isn't, but I want to say this for anybody out there, there's no shame in that whatsoever. Even if you have, like, my doctor wanted me just to stay on, and he's like, why you want to get off? I'm like, my baby is 3 now. How will we ever know if I don't need it?
Right.
But
you be 33 and you're like, oh, maybe I might be good now.
Right. But even if I did, that is totally okay. I don't want people to think that you have to rush to get alpha, but you do not. So.
No time. Well, cool. Do you have anything else that you want to highlight or share or remind people?
No, I mean, I decided to share this story in my life because I think it's just so important that we hear some of the other sides of pregnancy and know that everything doesn't just happen as kind of like we see and read in the media, but, you know, anything that does happen, you can get through it. You know, you can push through it and you will thrive and survive. And it's okay to talk and lean on other women. Even if you have to go searching for that woman, the person you don't know, it's totally okay to do that and sometimes necessary. So that's all.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it's going to help people and in ways that you probably don't even expect, but that's amazing. I'm glad you and Enoch Jr. are doing well. And I look forward to, like, in the future, like, you're being so real about your pregnancy story, like, the realness, maybe if you share, like, just general parenting stories, you know, like, we always hear the glossed over versions of parenting, you know? So if you'd be open to that in the future, that'd be cool. But thank you. Like, anything that you share in the future would be welcome, which is what we're all about. So
you are welcome.
Cool. So yeah, we'll be sharing more stories about ourselves and our lives as we progress in the series. So again, we want to thank Whitney for sharing her pregnancy story and being open and honest about just how real it got. So, and being vulnerable and willing to share. So thank you everyone for listening. We appreciate it.
Bye. If you enjoyed this week's podcast, please help us spread this story by
subscribing however you're listening, rating this podcast, and commenting and following on our social media.
And thank you for you.